So, today I want to share with you this one technique that I never expected to be so effective in manifesting things in my life, manifesting circumstances, people, scenarios, and situations. And when I share this experience with you and this technique with you, you may find that you've been inadvertently using this technique, not understanding the power and effectiveness of it. So, a few months ago, I was actually listening to another YouTuber explain a teaching from Neville Goddard. And Neville happens to be one of the teachers that I will go to from time to time and listen to his lectures, read his books. And Neville taught a technique that was really powerful. He used it to encourage his listeners and those who would come and sit in the theater to listen to him speak every week to go into a deeper practice for themselves. And the entire practice was centered around the idea of not having something. And so this particular YouTuber was speaking about Neville's practice and how effective it had proven to be for so many people. And as I considered listening to this technique, I kind of laughed to myself because I began to understand how I had employed this very technique in my life so many times and for decades without even understanding what I had done. But in that moment, that day, listening to that teaching, I said, oh my gosh, I've been using this so much in my life, not even understanding the effects of this technique. And so I want to share this with you guys today, and I want to bring this to your awareness because the chances are that you've been utilizing this technique unknowingly and unconsciously, and it's brought about some things in your life. So, have you ever heard the saying that goes, never say never, or God will have you nevering like you never did before? If you haven't seen it, there's a little meme that's floated around on social media that says something to that effect. And the first time I read it, I laughed because I thought, well, that's true. And then again, it didn't dawn on me until much later. And it was recent, actually, of listening to this particular YouTuber share Neville's practice. And I laughed at thinking, I've known for so long that the subconscious mind does not hear, acknowledge, or witness the idea of no or never or not. And if you've done any kind of personal development at all, if you've read any kind of personal development literature, someone along the way has likely said to you, the subconscious does not understand anything negative. It just takes what you dump into it and it produces that thing. And until this moment, I really hadn't considered that in my life. But when I did, I began to look at all the times that I had been emphatic using the word never or never ever or not going to. And I started to look back over my life and I had to laugh and go, man, this is so true. Never say never, or God will have you nevering like you never did before. And I began to look at my life. There were things that I experienced growing up in my home that I said, I will never let this happen to me. I will never experience this. I will never do this with my family. I will never live in this way. And let me tell you something, I lived exactly those things almost to a T in my life early on in my 20 something ish years. And I remember when those things started to develop and express themselves in my life. And I thought, no, no, I said I didn't want this. Why is this happening to me? This is the same thing that so and so went through, or this is the same thing that I saw my parents experience, or this is the same thing as dot, dot, dot. And I said, I never wanted to experience this. And I found myself right smack dab in the middle of the very thing I said I did not want. And of course, at the time, I could not see the power of what I had done and how I had created it in my life. You see, your subconscious mind, it doesn't understand negatives. It doesn't understand never or not going to or never ever, any of that. It doesn't understand it. What your subconscious mind does is it tunes into your deep feeling of a thing. So you have to go back and look and go, how many times have I said, oh, I will not let that happen to me, or I will never do this? Oh, I know that happened to so and so, or I know that happened to my family, but it will never happen to me. And then you find yourself experiencing the very thing you said, I will never let that happen, right? And it's frustrating, and it can even feel like you're being punked by God. It can make you feel like, what is happening in my life? And the thing is that whenever you begin to understand how prayer works and how manifestation works, then you can begin to accept the fact that you actually created that scenario for yourself with the intense feeling that you had around the condition or circumstance that you said you would never let happen in your life, right? And as I began to assess that for myself and look at my own life and go, oh my gosh, there are so many things I said I would never do. Let me give you an example. So for years, I grew up in a certain state, in a certain city in the United States, and I believed that I was going to live there my entire life. In fact, what I would say often when people would ask me is, do you think you never live anywhere else? And I said, oh my God, I would never live anywhere else. This is my home. I would never live anywhere else. I felt very convicted about that. I felt very passionate about that. I felt like that place was my home forever, forever and ever and ever. My family all lives there. Most of the work I did was there. My friends are there. And let me tell you guys something. 2 years ago, I moved from the place I said I would never move from and moved myself to a place I had only dreamed of living in. And I had to laugh at this moment and go, man, I said I would never leave. And look at me, happier now than I ever thought I could be in this place that I'm absolutely loving. I live in a different state, in a different city. My life is just different all the way around. But I said I would never leave where I was. And look at me now. Look at where I am. And I had to laugh about that. I also have a wonderful, loving relationship in my life now. And there were years and years that I believed I could never have the kind of relationship I had now for so many reasons, so very many reasons. And I would dream about it and then I would discount it and be like, that could never happen. That could never happen. And in fact, the person that I am in a relationship with now and that loves me so beautifully and wonderfully is somebody that I thought that could never happen. And lo and behold, it did happen. And the funny thing is to consider how these things have manifested in my life using this technique that I didn't know I was using. And I wasn't doing it intentionally, I was doing it unconsciously, using words like never. That is never going to happen to me. Now, let me say, I've experienced plenty of negative conditions in my life talking about things I would never experience, that will never happen to me, that could never happen to me, that will never be my life, that will never be what I choose, right? Have you ever said those things and then you experience something really disappointing, maybe even devastating, and you thought, I said this would never happen to me. How did this happen to me? And I'm here to tell you that the reason that it happened is more about the intense feelings you have felt around things that you did not want than it was about anything else. And you're saying, but it's not right, Jody. Like, I didn't want it and it came to me anyway. And I'm here to tell you that is how all of this works. That feeling nature that you have within you is a gift from God. And whenever you begin to feel things intensely, whether it's something you don't want or it's something you do want, your subconscious mind goes to work on your behalf, receiving what you're feeling, right? Because when we're feeling something, we're engaging a layer and a level of us that otherwise is not active whenever we're just kind of hypnotized and moving through our day in a very like rhythmic and I guess like patternistic way. So when we begin to feel something intensely and deeply, our subconscious mind pays attention and goes, oh, what is this? I feel this. Oh, this must be something that they like. This must be something that they want. And so this is a message to you to be aware. What is it that you're saying? Let me tell you, after this acknowledgement in my life, I have been so intentional about what I say because I began to realize how many times the word never flies out of my mouth. Never gonna do it, never gonna happen. I'm never gonna let that happen. I'm never, and I started to go, oh my gosh, well, those are things I don't want. So let me change what I'm saying and feeling. And I can't tell you guys how many times I have stopped myself right in the middle of a sentence about to say never. And I'm like, oh, wait, let me rephrase this and let me feel something different. I am going to have this thing. I am going to experience this. And I would give myself a minute to not just say the words, but to feel what it feels like to have that thing, because I'm planting the seeds in my subconscious mind. And my subconscious mind, its only job is to produce what I plant there. So I want to encourage you guys. The never technique is one that you may be using in your life to your detriment. You could actually use it intentionally on purpose. If you got really passionate about saying, I'm never going to be in a loving relationship, I am never going to be a multimillionaire, I am never going to have the health that I really desire to have, and you could feel that intensely, you would begin to manifest the very thing that you said never about. However, you could also just get very positive about those things and let yourself feel them and bask in them and let yourself feel the love that you want to have. Let yourself feel the wealth that you want to have. Let yourself feel in every cell of your being the health that you desire to have, or whatever it is that you're seeking. Begin to let that feeling of having it settle into you, and your subconscious mind goes to work and it begins to work on your behalf. If you've been saying lots of nevers and not going tos and never ever, I want you to assess that, take a look at it, and begin to rewrite it in a way that benefits you, because you are the sower of the seeds to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind must obey you. It must produce whatever you plant inside of it. And so tend it well, plant in there only what you truly desire. Take anything else that you don't want to produce in there, take it out, and begin to repattern the way you speak, the way you think, and the way that you feel. If this has been helpful to you today, I hope that you'll like this video. Leave your comments below if this is something you've experienced, or if you're going to go play with it, come back to this video and let me know how it's worked for you. I hope you'll subscribe to this channel, and I'll be back next week with more.